Yeah, so what I really want to get to is that you're going in and out the merger and going in and out and kind of try to get deeper into that and however you can explain it from different angles. Whereas you said that you lost a reference point of separation. You're afraid of that by going too far in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, once merging with the light?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, once I was approaching the light, I had full volition of being able to approach the light or withdraw. And the light represented just the universe. It represented pure love, pure undivided wholeness, infinity. And it didn't contain me, which was interesting. And to merge with it would be merging with just pure being. And as I merged or began to draw closer, I felt myself merge with it slowly. My legs, I noticed first, just began to become light and slowly just disappear into light. And my arms and then feeling of just my trunk and mostly finally just my presence of ability to choose. I always maintained a sense of self. And when I began to lose my sense of self, I started to lose my sense of being able to choose, being able to have the volition of withdrawing or taking any action on my own. And so at that point I would withdraw, and without resistance I did so. I found myself re-identifying with my body. My body seemed to coalesce again into in the state that I'm used to having it as an intact sensate entity. And so I lost my fear of what the light might represent, and so I draw closer. There was no threat from the light at all. I mean, it just was just pure being, pure love. And so the desire just to merge was almost overwhelming. And at the same time, the fear
You
of...
wanted to merge with it, or it was attracting you?
I wanted to merge with it. I mean, why not? It represented everything we'd ever want.
Was there a sense of coming home, or what was the attraction?
Yes, it's something that's so intimately known. It represents myself, the world, the universe, and more. It's pure, infinite love. And to merge, as I merged, I got a better sense of it. I played on this boundary for hours, it seemed like. And I would say hours just because I repetitiously would move in, back out, move in, back out, move in, back out.
How was that moving in, back and out? That crossing over, can you describe that border?
Well, the border, it was just a very soft presence of feeling this infinite presence from the light, and the merging would be a slow dissolution of my body and my sense of self, to the point where I felt I would be merging with this pure, undifferentiated love being.
How did that merger feel, that dissolving into it? How did that feel, the emotional sensation of that?
Again, everything that I'd ever want, the completion of anything I'd ever want to achieve, the summation of life. What it didn't have was creation. It was just pure being. What it didn't have was the ability for me to merge and still maintain myself. I knew that I would be surrendering any sense of separation, that I merged as far as I could and still retain the ability to choose not to be separate. I mean, not to be united.
You were
So,
stopping. You were stopping.
I was stopping, and then I would pull back. I did initially just out of fear of being swallowed. It felt like by this. And then as I lost my fear, I'd go further and further and further, and then feel more the quality of just pure beingness.
So overcoming your fear was what made you go closer. How can you
Yes.
describe that?
Well, and as I say that, as I allowed myself to go closer, I felt this just pure love, pure beingness, not compelling in any way.
What, in that overcoming the fear, was there surrender to that love, or what was the mechanism that made you come closer to it?
My desire to know more and to envelop as much as I could, and to embrace as much love as I could, and to know if I could surrender and still maintain myself. And the one question that still lingers with me is, what would have happened if I totally surrendered? I went as far as I could to the point where I had no, or just before, I would not have any choice.
What would have happened if you...
And if I had continued, I would have just it would have been total surrender to pure being. And at that point, I had felt the quality of pure being enough. It's undifferentiated love, pure being. No time, no space, no movement, and no creation. The biblical or the creation stories of all cultures come to mind. You know, from the one comes the many, the night from the day. There has to be separation to be creation. I had to have some sense of self to have volition, to have choice. If I had surrendered myself, I wouldn't have had any choice. I would have just been love, pure being. And there then would have been, I don't know, it wouldn't have been up to me as an individual entity to have any choice.
So you would have dissolved completely?
I would have dissolved completely.
And no longer existed? Or you would exist as the whole?
I would have existed as a whole. Now the question remains whether I would have, Jim, dissolved into the whole, and then the whole Christed consciousness, the Buddha nature, whatever our cultures would call that, be able to then return into this body. That's a question that's lingered. Or whether the entity Jim resisted and wanted to stay intact as Jim. Because I do know that Jim is that whole, too. The reality is there is nothing but that whole. That in order to create any kind of creation, there has to be the illusion of separation. That you and I, this camera, all the technology here is an illusion. It's a fabrication of separation so that there can be creative movement, time, and space. But ultimately, there is no thing.
So there are two Jims. There was a gross Jim and a more subtle, the one that came closer to dissolving into light. How would you describe that?
No.
The same Jim?
No, same Jim. Same Jim. That's me. And as I moved into the subtle, what disappeared was my body. But the same way you're seeing here, my awareness, my ability to form words for you, is the same awareness that was making the choice to move into the light or to move back from the light. And it's that awareness that I would have lost as a separate entity had I merged fully with the light.
So you're more point of awareness as you come close.
A point of awareness, yeah. Yeah. It requires a separate perception. To lose that perspective or that perception would have just been to merge into infinite beingness. And again, as I say, there's no volition, no movement, no creation, no change within that. The mystery in my mind is, okay, how does pure being spawn creation and spin us off, spin that spark of life that creates and becomes what we become.